Johnny Talk Sports, my New Year's 6 predictions. Now, I'm not going to predict the semifinal ones in this video. That's coming up on Thursday. I hope you're excited for that because I am. But tonight, we got to focus on the other New Year's 6 matchups. These are going to be great matchups. The Cotton Bowl, the Fiesta Bowl, the Orange Bowl, and the Peach Bowl. All four of these are going to be great matchups. Especially, it's a good appetizer for the two semifinal matchups. And if it says anything in years past, maybe these will be better than the semifinal matchups. Who knows? It's been that way for the last 2 years now. But we'll see. This one's probably going to be the best one in my opinion. The Cotton Bowl. USC and Ohio State. Two blue blood programs. Both these teams have players on the team that want to fulfill their legacy. This is very important for those legacies, especially for Sam Darnold on USC, who's supposed to be a top draft pick in April's draft. It's safe to assume he's going to enter the draft. So this is going to be his finale. I think he wants to have a good one. And JT Barrett on Ohio State, it'll be his Ohio State finale as well. Both these quarterbacks are hoping to have NFL futures. But I see this match a little bit different than people. I think the running game is going to be really important. Ronald Jones on USC, you got J.K. Dobbins on Ohio State. I think we're going to see a lot of running in this matchup because the running back is supposed to, because Ronald Jones is doing really well for USC. Really a huge buffer zone for Sam Darnold this year. Especially with Sam Darnold constantly turning the ball over this year. But he's gotten better with that the second half of the year. I believe a lot in the first half of the season we were talking about Sam Darnold making too many turnovers. And his turnovers would cost USC in a couple of games. And in that case it has. It cost them against Washington State. And they got blown out by Notre Dame. Ohio State, on the other hand, they're kind of up and down. You don't know what to expect of Ohio State sometimes. But when Ohio State is at their best, they're one of the most lethal teams in college football. And that's the difference I see in this matchup. I see this giving a little bit of TCU vibes back in 2014 when they just missed the college football playoff. They felt they should have been in. And then they just completely obliterate whoever they play in the bowl game. And I don't necessarily see this here, but I see Ohio State winning this game. I think Ohio State wins this game in a shootout. I'm going to say 49-45. I think Sam Darnold will not be able to lead a 2-minute drive. I think Ohio State scores a game-winning touchdown within the last 90 seconds of the game, but I think their defense will hold the very end. I'm taking the Buckeyes 49-45. Next matchup, we got the Fiesta Bowl between Washington and Penn State. Both these teams had good years. Penn State, they made it to number 2 at some point in the year. Washington, they do have some talent back from last year's college football playoff team, but it wasn't the whole team, though. Washington had an upset loss against Arizona State in that upset-filled weekend where we saw Clemson and Auburn and Washington all lose that week, and Washington State lose all that week as well. And Penn State, a team that didn't really play tough competition at points, and whenever they played the tough competition, they lost the games. But the way I see this matchup, I see both teams kind of benefit from an easy schedule. That's just the way I saw the perspective of it. But I think Penn State played a little bit tougher opponents than Washington did. And with this matchup, Washington may have a strong defense led by Vita Vea in the front seven. But that's the same front seven that allowed 3 touchdowns and over 100 yards and change to a banged-up Bryce Love. And I can only imagine how much they're going to give up to a healthy Saquon Barkley. But quarterback play is going to be important as well. Jake Browning for Washington. Trace McSorley for Penn State. Let's also not forget Myles Gaskins. Only a sophomore for Washington at running back, but he's a pretty lethal weapon. And so is Dante Pettis in the special teams and in the receiving game. Dante Pettis should be, I don't think he's going to be necessarily, but he is deserving of being a first-round draft pick in this draft. Maybe this bowl game, he can prove himself against a Big Ten defense. But in this matchup, the way I see it, I see Saquon Barkley I see Saquon having a day for Penn State in what will easily be what we're assuming is going to be his finale at Penn State. And I think Penn State wins this game by at least 14 points. I see it being in the range of 35-24 or 35-20, 34-17. I see it being in somewhere in the range of 14 to 20 points. I'm taking the Nittany Lions. Next matchup, we got the Orange Bowl, Wisconsin and Miami. Two teams that had cases to make the college football playoff, but they couldn't get it done in conference championship weekend. Miami cut off a blow-off loss to Clemson in the ACC title game, and losing a heartbreaker by 10 points, 24-14 on Black Friday. Wisconsin coming off a heartbreaker in the Big Ten championship game, a 27-21 loss. I think Wisconsin also wants something to prove here, because the question is, what kind of motivation will Wisconsin have in this matchup? Because they feel like they probably should have been in the college football playoff, but they didn't get it done. They fell just short of having an undefeated season. But the way I see this here, I like the running backs in this game. You got Travis Homer from Miami. You got freshman phenom Jonathan Taylor for Wisconsin. And I see this being a low-scoring game here. The quarterback plays. Alex Hornibrook for Wisconsin. Inconsistent at times. I haven't seen a lot out of him yet this year. Malik Rozier, I've seen some things out of him, but he has his inconsistencies at times. I think this game's going to be determined off the running backs and the defense as well. I think the quarterbacks aren't going to be the factor that wins this game. I'm going with the running game of Wisconsin to be the huge difference in this matchup. I think Wisconsin just pounds the ball in the second half. Just pound it with Jonathan Taylor. Just pound and pound and pound. I think the Badgers win a low-scoring game. I think the Badgers win 17-13. That's right. I see it being a defensive battle throughout the first three quarters. But in that fourth quarter, just ground and pound for the Badgers. And our final New Year's Six game that we're going to predict is going to be the Peach Bowl between the Central Florida Golden Knights and the Auburn Tigers. Central Florida, the only undefeated team left in college football, at least in the FBS. Now, and they're going against Auburn, who had a blowout loss in the SEC Championship at Georgia, 28-7. The question is, what kind of motivation does Auburn have? And is Kerryon Johnson going to play? How is the depth at Auburn's running in the Auburn running game? How healthy are they going to be for this game? Because if Kerryon Johnson's unable to play, which I do think he's going to play, I mean, Gus Malzahn has hinted that he's going to be good to go. I see Central Florida competing in this matchup, but I don't necessarily see them winning at this point. I mean, their running back, Arden Killings, came out and said they're going to have a huge advantage over Auburn because SEC guys are slow. Honestly, you don't the rule is when you trash talk the SEC, it's almost like the message. It's almost like back when you were saying, when people say, we want Bama. Vanderbilt, their defensive lineman, he said that they challenged Bama. Like, that was like a challenge call. And then Bama came out and just whooped them 59-0. It's almost like anything. Penn State fans were chanting, we want Bama, in the fourth quarter of the Michigan game. And what happened next? They lost 2 in a row. So basically, when you make a challenge card to somebody in the SEC, you better be able to back it up. And I see him being able to back it up, but I don't see the rest of the team being able to back it up. Despite McKenzie Milton having Baker Mayfield type numbers, but not getting the appreciation he deserves because they're a group of 5 team. I think that's what's going to cost them, because I've been arguing with several Nebraska fans over Scott Frost, who's going to coach the UCF in the bowl game. Let me just make that clear. Him and all the assistants will be there for the Peach Bowl. But they're already treating this man like he's already saved the program. And that's just the thing that's gotten under my skin, because people just jump to conclusions about Scott Frost already leading them to multiple national championships. And I know I lost my mind over Jimbo Fisher. But then you got to pull out the reality card here. They're still in the SEC West. They still got to play Alabama, LSU, and Auburn every single year. Just like the Nebraska fans need to check their reality a little bit, because they still got to play Ohio State, Wisconsin, and Michigan, and Penn State, and you got to play Iowa, and you got to play Northwestern, who's really consistent at times. We got to come back to reality a bit. So, but that's something else That's just something else. But still, I see UCF competing in this game, but I think Auburn gets to win at the very end. Although it won't surprise me if UCF wins. In fact, I'm kind of rooting for Auburn to win, because if UCF just completely comes out and just demolishes Auburn, it's just going to ignite the argument of, Why can't we have group of 5 teams in the college football playoff? Why can't we extend the college football playoff to 8 teams and give the highest group of 5 team a chance to prove themselves? That's kind of why I'm rooting for Auburn a little bit. It's not like I don't have any SC bias or anything. It's just that I'm rooting for Auburn to win. Because if UCF ends up beating Auburn, let's just not say beat by like 3 points. Let's say they completely come out and demolish them 44-14. It's almost going to be the biggest head scratcher on why the committee does not want a group of 5 team in the college football playoff. And it could pressure, like the fans might be able to pressure the committee a little bit, like, because everybody on Twitter can just pressure committee members and say, why can't we have 8 teams to playoff? I think that Auburn's going to win this game, and that's what I think that's what people want to root for. People want to root for UCF, but I think Auburn's going to win. I think UCF hasn't played a strong blue blood team like Auburn this year, and I think Auburn's going to win, but not convincingly. I'm going to say the Auburn Tigers win 31-23. And those are my predictions for the Cotton, the Fiesta, the Orange, and the Peach Bowl. Comment your predictions down below. Also, like and subscribe to the channel. Share it with your friends and family. I will see you later this week for my semifinal matchups. Now, I'm thinking about doing them one at a time. I'm thinking about doing Georgia and Oklahoma first, and then doing Clemson and Alabama. I think that's going to be easier. It's going to be more helpful. That way, if you want to watch one over the other, that's completely fine. Anyway, I will see you next time. Have a great night, everybody.